So, any questions on that? Why don't we go run off?
Spare some extras.
Yeah. We can run some more of these at the break. And then this bad break. Okay, so now we talked about muscles that cross the elbow and that are on the anterior side. And what are the ones that we just went over? Biceps, the brachialis, and the brachioradialis. Okay? So now we're talking about on the back side, and we've already covered the triceps, but we're just going to review it again. Okay? Triceps mean three, meaning that it has three different heads, right? One of them originates from the infraglenoid tubercle here, and then another head is from the lower part of the posterior humerus, and then the medial head's deep underneath there. Okay? And that's going to extend the elbow.
The action of the flexors is opposed by just one extensor muscle, the triceps. The triceps muscle has three heads: a long head, a lateral head, and a medial or deep head. The long head arises, as we saw in the last section, from the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula. The lateral head arises high up on the lateral side of the posterior humerus. The medial head arises from a broad area lower down and more medially. As we'll see, the radial nerve runs next to the bone between the lateral and medial heads. The three heads of triceps converge to form this massive tendon, which inserts here on the olecranon. Contraction of the triceps extends the elbow.
You want to see that again, or is that enough?
The action of the flexors is opposed by just one extensor muscle, the triceps. The triceps muscle has three heads: a long head, a lateral head, and a medial or deep head. The long head arises, as we saw in the last section, from the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula. The lateral head arises high up on the lateral side of the posterior humerus. The medial head arises from a broad area lower down and more medially. As we'll see, the radial nerve runs next to the bone between the lateral and medial heads. The three heads of triceps converge to form this massive tendon, which inserts here on the olecranon. Contraction of the triceps extends the elbow.
Okay, so then, remember I said there's one other muscle that also does extension that's not really that important, but I'm going to look at it.
And conius. It runs from the lateral epicondyle to the lateral aspect of the proximal ulna. And conius is a very minor elbow extensor. And conius. It runs from the lateral epicondyle to the lateral aspect of the proximal ulna. And conius is a very minor elbow extensor.
So it's basically going to be going here from the lateral epicondyle across here to the humerus. So it's like a triangular shaped muscle that originates here and goes to this area. Okay, so then now we've gone through the muscles, the anterior muscles at the elbow that flex the elbow, the muscles that cross the elbow that are on the posterior side that extend the elbow. So that was the So what's the muscle that extends at the elbow?
Tricep.
Triceps. And what else? Cones. All right, now we're moving down, and we're talking about muscles that are still in the forearm, and they're going to cross the wrist and or into the fingers. Some of those are actually going to cross the elbow as well, but they're not really going to be considered as moving the elbow. They're going to be considered more as moving the wrist, flexors and extensors of the wrist. You skipped ahead of. As far as on the notes, we just went over page 58, so we did muscles of the forearm, so flexion at the elbow, extension at the elbow, and then now we're going over towards page 59, muscles of the forearm, anterior compartment. So this is also called muscles of the forearm. So we're at, what is that, page 59, right?
Yeah.
Muscles of the forearm, anterior compartment. And what did we say that those are mostly going to do? What action?
Flexion of the wrist.
Flexion. Flexion of the wrist and or fingers. And then most of those are all going to be from this medial epicondyle. Okay? And then they're going to call that the flexor, common origin of the flexor tendons. Because we'll see that most of these muscles, when we go through the origin insertion, most of them are all going to be from this side. And then most of the extensors are all going to be posterior, and they're mostly all going to be from the lateral epicondyle. So these muscles generally run like this, posterior compartment, anterior compartment mostly run like this. Okay? So these are just general concepts that we're talking about right now. So what are the most commonly the anterior muscles of the forearm do what? Flexion, and they most of them originate from where?
Medial epicondyle.
Medial. Okay. As we go farther down, there's going to be some deeper ones that go more to the thumb and other things with the fingers. But the general consensus of them is that they mostly come from the medial epicondyle. Okay. And then the other general concept you want to understand is if you go to the other side, what are most of these muscles going to do? Extension. Okay. And most of those are originating from where? Lateral epicondyle. So again, as we go deeper, there's going to be some other more specialized ones that are going to go to the thumb and the index finger and the little finger and things like that. But in general, they're all going to come from the lateral epicondyle. Okay? So there's going to be flexors and extensors. Then there's also going to be pronators and supinators. And we'll talk about those as we go. Some of those are going to be up here. Some of those are going to be down here. So the pronator teres and the pronator quadratus are going to be on the anterior portion, and they're going to pronate. Pronator teres is going to be up here. Pronator quadratus is going to be down here. What's that? Okay. Well, we're still doing general concepts now. When we get into the details on it, we'll do that in a second. Okay. And then the supinator is going to be more on the backside, and it's going to come around and pull like this to supinate. Okay. So again, we're just talking about general concepts right now. When we get into each of the individual muscles, it'll be in the notes there. And then also, the other action that does supination is going to be the biceps, remember? Because if you look at your biceps muscle, you can see how it changes when you pronate and supinate.